Over the next few minutes, you'll discover how to manifest anything you want, even if you don't believe in the law of attraction, and even if you don't believe that what you want to manifest is possible. Since you're watching this video, it's a fair bet that you've at least dabbled with the law of attraction. And if you're anything like I was, you've tried your best to get the manifesting techniques right, only to have nothing show up, or at best, something happened that was maybe a coincidence, but wasn't really the result you were hoping for. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly why you failed and what to do about it, so keep watching. And by the way, I run my entire life based on the simple ideas I'm about to share with you now, and you can do the same. To get a more in-depth understanding of how this all works, click the link in the description to check out my free book, How to Make the Law of Attraction Work Every Time. But for now, let's get down to business. I want to begin by examining a common idea that's grown up around manifesting and the law of attraction. The idea is that you need to believe that you can have what you desire to manifest, and that if you don't believe it 100%, the manifesting won't happen. To my mind, that's a bit like the idea that if you're not a good boy or girl for 364 days, Santa won't bring you any Christmas presents. It may have some influence on a few 5-year-olds, but basically, everyone knows that's baloney. The fact is, the law of attraction, if it exists, and we'll come back to that point, no more requires you to believe that it works than gravity does to keep your feet on the ground. It's a law and it's neutral. It doesn't require you to trigger it, and you can't inhibit it either. And to continue the analogy with gravity, you don't need a technique to not float around either. Staying on the ground is the default situation, unless you happen to live on a space station. But even then, the law of gravity still applies. There just isn't any. So if you don't need to believe in what you're trying to manifest and there's no technique required, what do you do? Well, I'd start by saying that's the wrong question. It's not a case of what you do, it's a matter of how to be. Suppose you're preparing to go on vacation, somewhere exotic, exciting, somewhere you've never been before. How do you feel about the trip as you pack? Excited, right? Looking forward to it for sure. You feel good, and it hasn't even happened yet. That good feeling is a combination of expectation and certainty. You're going to go, and you know you will get there. And then you go. From that moment on, most things are out of your hands. The plane taking off and landing safely is nothing to do with you. The state of the hotel room when you get there has been created by other people, and so on. It's at that point of leaving that you make a choice. If you decide that the risks of traveling are too great, then you may decide to abort the mission and not to travel. Now, there's a minority of people who will never travel because they're afraid, for example, of being involved in a plane crash. Possible, but extremely unlikely. I mention that because there's a survival mechanism there, which is perfectly normal, but in those rare cases, it's being taken to such an extreme level that a person who thinks like that pretty much paralyzes their own life. Let me explain, because this is important. In hunter-gatherer societies, it makes sense to take precautions. It would be a very foolish hunter who sets out alone. Hunters work in teams so that they can protect each other and minimize risks from attacks from all sorts of creatures and dangers. No single person could ever be sure of covering all the angles. It therefore makes sense that in planning anything, whether it's a trip to the supermarket or an adventure to the other side of the world, our brain instinctively goes into risk assessment mode. Checking for risks and even worst case scenario thinking isn't negative thinking. It's survival. But staying there, that's going to introduce doubt and in time, fear. Yes, the plane could crash, but it almost certainly won't. Just for FYI, according to simpleflying.com, your chances of being killed in a plane crash on a commercial flight are roughly 1 in 33 million. The odds of being killed in a car accident, by contrast, are about 1 in 5,000, and most of us blithely ride around in those metal boxes without a second thought. Everything carries a risk, even going up and down stairs in your own home, but we don't and can't think like that, or we would never have a life. Except when we try to manifest. Then our thinking changes and we get into who, me, and more importantly, how. When we can't see how a thing could happen, our tendency is to dismiss the whole idea as fanciful nonsense, thus letting the doubt win. And that's because we try to take control of the entire process. When we can't see how to do that, we overthink, doubt, and fail to manifest. If you want to know in more depth how to deal with the how issue, get my free book mentioned earlier, How to Make the Law of Attraction Work Every Time. There's a link in the description. For now, let me say this. The universe will guide you. Your job is to trust that will happen, and that's where we get into difficulty. We're so conditioned to take control that we get in our own way. The secret to manifesting is to let go and trust. You're going to arrive, you're going to manifest, if you allow the guidance. That guidance comes in the form of spontaneous ideas, inner nudges, coincidences, even dreams sometimes. I've come to think of it as inner wisdom, and I'm working on a whole course to teach you how to tune into it, and yes, to trust it too. Make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, and also get the free book so you're on my mailing list. You'll be the first to know when it's ready. Click the link in the description below now to grab your free book, and be sure to read it too. Thanks for watching. See you soon.